All right, don't kill the messenger, but is there a realistic chance that South Carolina can make the college football playoff? Hear me out. We discuss this team's actual ceiling and more. Locked on Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. We are all smiles today. It is a fantastic Monday. Getting this out a little bit later than we wanted, but we have your Monday show nonetheless, and I appreciate you guys joining us. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we are a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Remember, download the Game Time app. Get $20 off your first purchase when you use Locked On College as the promo code. $20 off first purchase. Go to Game Time. What time is it? It's game time, y'all. And it's game time for the Monday show. I apologize for the background backlit. I feel like I'm in heaven right now. I mean, not emotionally, but like just, with the actual lights in the background. But guys, it's still, we should probably move on. There's a 24-hour rule. A lot of good programs have, and I think Shane Beamer has this in place too, where it's like you celebrate a win, then you move on. Still feeling really good. Still feeling really good about the win in Oklahoma on Saturday, and so much so that, and this is not coming from me, I cannot stress that enough. So if you get mad at me for being the sunshine pumper and the one that's always way too optimistic or whatever, way too positive, fine, I get it. But this is not from me. There's a path. There's an actual path where you could see a South Carolina team potentially getting into the playoff. Brad Crawford brought this up. Listen, I trust Brad way more than I trust myself on mostly everything. He's got a better beard. He's been watching this team his whole life, for one. I just moved to Columbia in 2004. He has been watching the Gamecocks the entirety of his existence. Works for 247 Sports. I mean, I love Brad to death. He's a smart dude. He brought this up. Okay, so it's not just me. But is there a path for South Carolina to make the playoff? I mean, there is. There is. I'll just get this out of the way. I don't think it happens. And I don't want to have pipe dreams to get us even more gassed up than we already are after that win. But isn't it crazy to think about, especially after some of the games, especially for Ole Miss, Old Dominion, Ole Miss? Maybe we stop scheduling old teams. Maybe it's only get New Mexico in here. Get New Mexico State in here. Is there a New England team? There's got to be something from up there, right? No more old teams, because South Carolina looked bad against both of them. But you think about what the state of the program was and the feeling you had about this team after those games versus now. I mean, we joke about it on social media all the time, but 9-3 is not off the table. It's just not. We'll go through the rest of the schedule and kind of talk about it. The next, you have a bye week now, right? We are in the bye week. And I appreciate you guys listening because, listen, there's not a ton going on for South Carolina. It's about to be basketball season, which starts, I believe, in 15 days. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check it. So I know we have some stuff to talk about with that, and that's exciting. We'll dedicate a show to that probably later this week. We'll also dedicate a show. I know a couple weeks ago you guys asked me to do this, and I've fallen short on it, but we'll do a show on the defensive numbers. We're going to go through some of them today. But here's the question, right? Like, what is the actual ceiling for this team? What is the actual ceiling for this team? And I'm pulling up some stuff right now that should have already been pulled up, but you guys know how unprofessional I am. College football bowl projections. Let's start there. How about that? This is a team that was not expected to make a bowl game. They are now firmly entrenched in the middle of what could be a very, very good bowl game. This is where I think things like this start. You have to start with things like this because, like where do you see the team ending up? I don't see them going to a playoff. The scenario of them getting to the playoff is Bama would have to lose another game. probably 2. So, and that could happen. They play LSU and Missouri, and they also get Auburn in a game that seems like it's, anything could happen, even though they're playing it at home. That's the first domino that has to fall. Texas, you kind of need Texas to drop. They have an away game at Texas A&M. They still got to play Florida, which, listen, Florida's won 3 of the last 4. Like they're better than people are giving them credit for. You need the path would have to be being the 4th team to get in to the playoff from the SEC. And here's the thing. It sounds crazy because it kind of is, but it's also we're in a season where we're headed into November and there's not a single undefeated team in the conference. It's the first time that has happened since 2007. Do you guys remember 2007? That was the first year you had a team that had 2 losses that won the playoff, or I'm sorry, that won the national championship in the BCS era. 2 losses, 1 natty, LSU. That year was crazy. You had 9 straight weeks where a number 2 team lost. You've had an upset in every single week of college football this year. So there had to be some crazy things that would happen, but just I need you to hear me out for a second. We never thought that Vandy was going to beat Bama. That happened. Okay? People didn't think Carolina was going to beat Kentucky or Oklahoma. That happened. Emphatically, that happened. Nobody, you listen to Kirby Smart, nobody thought Georgia would beat Texas. That happened. That's less of an upset, but you know what I mean. Kentucky beating Ole Miss. This has been a year of chaos, and we still have 5 games left for every team in this conference. So let's shoe in Georgia. They're in, right? I would think that what you need is for Bama to lose. That means LSU would have to be in, and they have to. Their games left. They have a road game against A&M this weekend, and they have Bama. They have Oklahoma. I think they still have Florida. And there's somebody else I'm missing. You would need them to win out or lose only 1 game going there, and that's very, very possible. They have very good chances to make the playoff. I'm looking at Action Network right now, and their odds are they have them shoot in right now into the actual playoff. The teams that Action Network, by the way, has in the playoff for the SEC: Georgia gets the bye; they're the champion. Texas is 7 seed, LSU 9, Texas A&M 10. Here's the other part of this. Remember, if you're a conference champion, you get a bye automatically. You also get a G5 team that is getting a free spot as well. There'll be a 12 seed. It might be Army, could be Navy, who knows. But the top 4 seeds are the Power 4 teams, okay? So that means Oregon, Georgia, Miami, and Ohio and Iowa State are the ones that would get those seeds right now. So you're talking about having to fight for 7 spots that are open. In this current model, it has BYU in their choice. I don't think the Big 12 is getting 2 teams in. I think the SEC is getting 4. So Georgia's in. You would need LSU in. And then you would need Texas A&M. You need to beat them, which is doable. You get them at home. They're terrible on the road. They're 2-9 in the 2 years prior, I think, coming like in road and neutral site games going into this season. And I think they have 1 win on the road this year, and it's against Mississippi State, right? I think they maybe played 1 other road game, but it's against like a nobody. Texas, you would need them to fall off the map. But if you can get LSU in there, you get Tennessee in there, and South Carolina can win out and beat a team like Clemson. Because here's what you still have in front of you. You still have Missouri. They're ranked. They're top 17 in the country. Clemson, who's top 10. A&M, who's 10th in this playoff field projection and top 15 nationally. You have all 3 of those games still on the schedule. And by the way, never thought we'd say this. You also have Vandy on the schedule. That's a quality win if you beat them. So if you win out, there is a realistic path, especially with the fact that you look at the other teams that would be in there. You lost to LSU. Well, they made the playoff, and you only lost to them by 3 on some very questionable calls. You lost to Bama by 2 points on the road. Like, those are quality losses that are going to matter now. It sounds insane. And it's something I never thought we would talk about, like, this season, especially at the start of it. But here we are, and people are talking about it. So naturally, so are we. That'll be the opening. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but it is a fair and admittedly logical thing that we have to discuss, guys. It is. That's where this program's at. It's a credit to Shane Beamer. It's a credit to them. Listen, it might not happen at all. They might not even come close. I think the goals you have in place for you are still getting to 6 wins and getting to a bowl game, and that is staring you smack dab in the face with very good possibilities on being able to make that happen. So we love that. We absolutely love that. All right, let's move on to the next part of the show. I do want to talk about some other things. Some big news, you guys. I hate to say this, in this economy, you don't ever want to cheer against anyone that that loses their job. But South Carolina was so dominant on Saturday, it led to one coach in the SEC losing his job directly because of it. So we will get to that next on Locked On Gamecocks. Before we do, I do want to talk about our friends at ZBiotics. If you guys are like me and you had a fun weekend, and you might have a fun couple weekends planned, we also have Halloween coming up. It is a fun time this time of year. Gather around a campfire, get some drinks in, get some friends around, all that good stuff. But what you will also need outside of campfires, pumpkins, Halloween candy, and drinks especially is ZBiotics. You guys have heard me talk about ZBiotics before. I'm going to talk to you about them again because they are that great of a company and that great of a product. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Listen, we've tried this before. I told you guys about it the other day. Me and the missus tried this not too long ago, and we felt great. You were able to get up the next day, you feel fine. There's no hangover, there's no sluggishness or anything like that. You just get up, attack your day. If you got to record a podcast, if you have to go to the gym, if you have to, I'm getting a thumbs up right now from the girlfriend when she took one the other day because she had herself a long Saturday as an Auburn fan. But I'm telling you, make it your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly. And guys, it is a game changer for the next day. For your best results, make it your first drink. Like I said, then pace yourself, hydrate, get a good night's sleep, guys. God, I love sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege. Okay. To learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money. No questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege. Use the code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. Guys, when we continue, we talk about the SEC coach who lost his job directly because of how bad South Carolina beat his team this past weekend. Locked On Gamecocks continues next. All right, we're back. Man, it's a good day. It is a good day. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. I usually make the joke and say if that's even possible, but it feels very possible right now. Well, this is better lighting. Just stay back here. Or no, it's not anymore. Whatever. Anyway, listen, let's talk about the actual ceiling for this team. Or as I have here in the notes, the actual ceiling, because I'm terrible at typos and spelling apparently. But let's talk about that. Before we do, let's talk about what happened yesterday, last Sunday night, for Oklahoma. Offensive coordinator Seth Luttrell, he was fired because of poor performance on the field, and it wasn't just from Saturday, but Saturday was definitely the nail in the coffin. Sad to say, we will never celebrate anybody losing their job on the podcast. Well, I mean, off air we will. For some people, a select few. This is not one of them. Seth Luttrell, good dude, took over the job at late last December when Jeff Levy took the job at Mississippi State to become the head coach there. I mean, their offense fell off the face of the earth. And this is one of the things I said to y'all going into the game, by the way. One of the reasons I was so adamant, the fact that you guys were you guys, I mean, most of you believe me, but one of the things I was so adamant about was South Carolina was a better team. South Carolina was the better team going into that game. And here are some of the numbers that you saw from, let me pull it up. Hold on a second. Yeah. So Oklahoma going into that game or after that game, they were 107th or worse in the country in 7 major offensive categories, including scoring, points per game, total yards per game, rushing yards per game, passing yards per game, yards per carry, yards per play, and yards per attempt. They were 107th or worse in all of those. I believe they were 114th in scoring offense at 22.1 points per game. Guys, to put that in perspective, they had ranked in the top 10 nationally in 7 of the 8 previous years. Seth Luttrell not getting it done. And listen, again, I'm not celebrating someone losing their job. I'm not. This is going to sound bad, but it's the truth in this day and age in world of football that we live in. That's a feather in the cap of Shane Beamer and the staff. It is. It flat out is. You don't ever want to have someone lose their job, but South Carolina went out and performed so well on Saturday that a major college university had to look at themselves and say, time for some changes. Like it is not because anything negative about South Carolina. It's because we just got our doors blown off, and we've had enough. And South Carolina was the final nail in that coffin. It sounds harsh and it sounds bad, but it's the cold, hard truth or harsh truth of this sport. And I hope Luttrell lands on his feet, and I'm sure he will. He's got a good enough resume to do so. But again, for South Carolina, that's a tremendous job from a coaching staff standpoint. That's I think one of the most important parts too. Is we talked about like the players. It was hard, I think, for people to understand beforehand going in and to accept, especially for Oklahoma fans. You're the better team. You're better on offense. You're better on defense for sure. You're better on special teams. Clearly, you have a better quarterback and you have a better coaching staff than what Oklahoma had in place. And people thought, I think those last two were the ones that were most insane. Well, that's a lot. That's for Lenore Sellers to make that kind of jump over whoever Oklahoma has, or a former 5-star, this guy, or the true freshman they have starting at, is 1-1 as a starter with a win over Auburn. Like, sure. But the staff standpoint, because you think about the resources Oklahoma has and what they have in place versus South Carolina. South Carolina is in a constant state of seemingly trying to catch up, and they're doing it. And this is a testament to Shane Beamer and the staff of saying, listen, we're like, what's the phrase? Like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work hard, like whatever it is. Like, I'm not saying this staff isn't talented, but I am saying that they outworked several members of that staff. And they've been doing it all year, and it's a credit to them. So there's that. All right, let's get back to this for a second. Realistic ceiling for this team. I'm not in the camp yet to say I think this team goes to the playoff. If they beat A&M, I am fully on board, because if you beat A&M, then I do think this team is beating Missouri flat out. I told you all this in the beginning of the year. There were 4 games on this schedule. This was the main point and the main hot take I had at the start of the season when I first took over in July, when I took over this podcast, is there's 4 teams on this schedule, and you're going to beat one of them. Is it Ole Miss, LSU, Mizzou, or so-and-so? And that Mizzou one should have been circled on the calendar for a while. And you get them after they get Oklahoma. They're also just not that good. They're just not that good. And we'll get to that later. If you can beat A&M, week off to prepare, you cannot have a game like you did last week. Against Ole Miss off the bye week. But if you beat them, then all you have left is Clemson, right? It's on the road, but you got Clemson, and you have to figure out a way to beat them. You've been really good on the road. So that is I would start to believe if that happens. Now, in the meantime, what are the actual realistic expectations? Well, let's look at a couple things, okay? Let's look at odds. We can do football. Yeah, let's do. I already told you Action Network has them going. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. Going to the. Sorry guys. Action Network has South Carolina going to the Music City Bowl and facing, drum roll please, Nebraska. They also already have the odds of that game. South Carolina would be a 3.5-point favorite over Nebraska. That'd be tremendous. 2 incredible and incredibly loyal fan bases that would show up for that. I think that would be awesome. Trip to Nashville. No one's ever complained about a trip to Nashville. I will say that, unless you got to play Vandy. But no, I think that would be a good one. This is just from Action Network. Okay, so they would have you playing. What do you call it? They would have you playing Nebraska in that situation. I think that's fair. I think the Gator Bowl is the realistic ceiling because it's a January 2nd game. It's a game you've played in before. It's a game you've traveled well before. So I think they're already familiar with like the fans and would know they would get a big turnout. Now, 247 Sports also has the Music City Bowl and says South Carolina versus Michigan. That would also be great. Listen, I think if you can't make the playoff this year, or you have a chance to get to 8 or 9 wins total on the year, right? If that happens, I think I would love to see South Carolina matched up with a traditional blue blood, because the ones that they would get, just to be honest, would be limping into that matchup. And it would be great to see South Carolina go out there against in a helmet game against Michigan or against Nebraska. I don't think Ohio State's going to drop that far. USC is now in the Big Ten. They could somehow be matched up against them. But getting into I don't want to see them play Purdue. I don't want to see them play Maryland. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Rutgers. But I would love to see South Carolina against traditional blue blood and show, in a game that would be pretty heavily watched because of both teams, but also because of the other team and the logo on the side of that helmet for a blue blood. It would be great to see South Carolina show another fan base like, hey, we're here. We're here. So realistically, the ceiling, I think the Gator Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl is potentially the ceiling. Now, the Cheez-It Bowl sounds crappy because it's the Cheez-It Bowl, right? And I think there's 2 Cheez-It Bowls somehow now in this economy, which is insane to me. Just bring back the Outback Bowl. We'll give you 1 Cheez-It Bowl in exchange for the Outback Bowl. Like, what are we doing? All right. But that being said, the Cheez-It Bowl is basically the Citrus Bowl, which is for so many years the biggest non-New Year's Six Bowl or now playoff bowl that you would have. So I think that is something what the ceiling would be. I honestly think the Music City Bowl is fine. If there's 5 games left and you're 4-3 right now, I think 7-5 is where South Carolina. I think that's it feels like that is the lowest they're going to be. I mean, like Vandy is better than people think. So maybe the actual basement and the floor is 6-6. If I'm ranking these games from here on out, the toughest is Clemson. The second toughest is A&M because of the defense and the way that team is built, and they're going to try to run the football, but your strengths match up against their strengths. They just have good defense. Third is Vandy. That sounds insane, but that is factual. I've watched this Mizzou team play several times already this year. It's a shell of what they were a year ago. It's a shell of that team. So I think that South Carolina is going bowling regardless. So I think like where do they end up? A week ago they had people projecting them going into the Gasparilla Bowl, which I don't see that happening. There's also the Liberty Bowl. They have Arkansas in there currently. That could happen if they go 6-6. But I think what you're really seeing here is I don't think you're going to match them up. Like Las Vegas is the first bowl of the year for South Carolina or for the SEC with tie-ins. I don't see the Las Vegas Bowl getting this fan base, not in a bad way. I think that like they could be slotted there because of where they would end up if they go 6-6. But I think they would choose a 9-3 Ole Miss over that, right? Like so. Which is fine. You play later in the year in a more meaningful game, which is what you want. Vegas is great, but still. So that's where I think the ceiling for me, realistically, is probably the Cheez-It Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, right? Or the Gator Bowl, a New Year's Day Bowl or a January 2nd Bowl, and that's well within reach. The floor, honestly, guys, I think is the Liberty Bowl at 6-6. You're not losing to Wofford. You tell me this team's going to go 0-4? In the other 4 games, grow up. No, they're not. It's just bottom line. They're not doing that. there's a very good chance they end up 7-5 or 8-4. So that is the ceiling, as it says here, for me. And there's that. All right. When we come back, we will continue this, and I will tell you exactly what the odds are from ESPN for South Carolina to make it past that. And also, I will tell you a couple things I think I want to see shored up and cleaned up a little bit before the next game. We're going to revisit the Oklahoma game. We're going to be a little bit critical of some things that could have gone better. And I'll be honest with you, it's going to be a short segment because it was still a great win, and we're not going to be – there's not too many negatives you can really come up with, but there still are some that need to be corrected in the bye week especially. So make sure you stick around for that. Before we come back, I do want to talk to you about our friends at the Game Time app. You guys have heard me talk about Game Time a bunch, and it's really it's a testament to them because I believe in it. They are a great product. They are the best one-stop shop for ticketing of any place on the internet. Go download the app today. It's Game Time app, or in the Apple Store or in Google, Google Play Store, whatever. Download the app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And I will tell you again, there's 2 or 3 pages of things that I could read, but I have a hard time not telling you my favorite parts of it every single time. And because there's no other service that provides what Game Time app provides. And that is all-in-one pricing upfront. Upfront, all-in pricing. You can see right off the bat how much your tickets are going to cost, exactly the price. So there's no surprises. There's no extra fees that are added on when you start clicking through to make your final purchase. None of that happens in the Game Time app. It is an all-in feature. All you have to do is toggle over that option on the actual app itself, and it will tell you the all-in pricing up front, which I love that. You also get seat views. You get a panoramic seat view of exactly what you're going to see once you're inside the stadium. You get to see that from outside the stadium on your phone from your seats. So you get that. You also get the lowest price guarantee for tickets and Game Time ticket coverage. Listen, here is an actual statement from Game Time about this, and I love this. We love our fans. We're committed to ensuring that you have an outstanding experience when you buy from Game Time. So our team is proud to offer the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. You can rest assured we've got your back. Buy with confidence knowing your purchase is covered by the Game Time ticket coverage. The Game Time ticket coverage includes lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, 24-hour returns guarantee, job loss assurance, one-time ticket delivery. Guys, things happen in life in general. If you buy these tickets and all of a sudden something comes up, it is a relief to know you are not going to get stuck with them because Game Time is at your service with the best customer service in the game. Remember, go to the Game Time app, download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem the code that is LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time, y'all. All right. It is about to be the end of Game Time for this show, but we still have one final portion we're going to get to. Locked on Gamecocks continues next, guys. All right. So, real quick, I keep bringing up these odds. Let's look at a couple of things before we move on to the final thing. So, FPI, which I think is grossly wrong a lot. Okay. Grossly wrong. But like right now, they have Texas at 2, Bama at 3, Georgia at 4, Ole Miss at 5. Bama is ahead by 3 spots ahead of Tennessee. Texas is 2 spots ahead of Georgia. These are all things that have played out already. Oregon, by the way, is 8th. They are 1 in both polls, but they are 8th on here. It's something. I will say that. It is something. But I'm looking at South Carolina and looking at their current record and strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff. South Carolina is ranked 23rd in the FPI. That is up 3 spots from last week. It hasn't projected to finish 7-5. And here's just a couple of things. Like your percentage chance to win out, 5.7. Your chances to get to 6 wins. This is from ESPN. Okay, this part I do believe. The projection part, Not the part that's like their actual ranking is as much, but their actual projections tend to be very, very analytically correct. To get to 6 wins, 92%. 92%. I love it. I love that. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. You look at their current strength of record, it's 29th. You look at the strength of schedule, by the way. They have done that against the 5th hardest schedule in the country so far. I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. And they also only have the 34th most difficult remaining strength of schedule. So I love that. I tell you what's more impressive than all that is the game control that they've had. They're ranked 15th in the country in that. That is very, very, very impressive. I'll look at one last piece of statistical information here, and it's their overall efficiencies. They rank 27th in the country overall in efficiency at 72.9%. I'm not even going to get into the offensive one because they're 80th, which is not great. How about this, though? For defensive efficiency, South Carolina ranks 4th in the country. Tennessee, Texas, Notre Dame, and then South Carolina ranks 4th in the country in defensive efficiency. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Now, listen, let's get into a couple of critiques. And usually we do like a Tell the Truth Tuesday, but we'll do this on a Monday today. And just some things that need to get better. Okay, it's just some things that need to get better and need to be shored up a little bit after the game against Oklahoma. Now, the first one is going to be, I'm going to nitpick. I'm just going to nitpick for a second, okay? Because it's just something that it's not a huge deal. It really is not a huge deal, okay? But plays of 20 or more yards, you gave up 3 of those this past weekend. Actually, it's not even that bad. I was expecting to be way worse. I was expecting it to be way worse. You had 5 yourself. I would love to see some more explosive plays out of the offense. I think that one of the things I've kind of praised this staff over the past couple weeks for doing is that 4th and 9 against Bama. You dialed up a beauty, Dow Loggins. The touchdown score you had, I think, to Simon against Oklahoma, same kind of route concept and route tree. We talked about this earlier on yesterday's show. Same kind of route concept, but you put orbit motion in place beforehand for the window dressing in the backfield to get the eyes moving. I think from and distracted from the front 7. And especially the linebacking core, really the back 7, I guess. But either way, I love that. Need some more chunk plays, right? You've had your moments. You've had some good spots where you've been able to hit a couple of guys. Like I said, like for some big plays. Michael Smith had a 25-yard reception this past week. I thought that was great. Oscar Attaway had a 27-yard reception. Vandrevius Jacobs had a 20-yard reception. Joshua Simon had a 33-yard touchdown, like we said. A 25-yard run. Would love to see that as well. Just some more explosive plays, get a defense on their heels, because right now, even though this defense or this offense has looked better at times, it's improved on things. Listen, baby steps here. We're talking about getting better on 3rd down, right? This is a team that was one of the worst in the country on 3rd downs at like 30 total percent. They were 6 of 18 against Oklahoma, so that's baby steps. It's 33%. It's not great, but it's better. Would love to see that, though. Would love to see that kind of improvement from week to week and getting some more chunk plays, because then that's how you start opening up. I think right now you're running Sanders and sometimes Sellers hoping to open up downfield plays. I would almost like to see that reversed a little bit and have some bigger downfield plays open up like the run game, because you can punish people in that run game, right? And I think that's the strength. So if we can somehow open up more holes by being able to stretch out a defense, maybe they're not like loading in the box as well. That's one thing I would love. Here's the other thing. And I know that it's going to be annoying to hear me say it, because I don't know the actual fix as of right now. South Carolina leads the SEC in sacks. They also lead in sacks allowed. You got 9 sacks this weekend against Oklahoma. 9. You gave up 6. Got to figure out ways, especially against Texas A&M, especially against Clemson. Those are really, really good front fours. You've got to figure out a way to keep Lenore Sellers upright and continue this little corner that he's turning in terms of being better with like protecting the football. So I think that's one way. You got to get better doing that. The other part is this. Listen, I'll just be as frank as possible. This is one thing I'm very, very passionate about, and it's going to sound aggressive, but it's just how you win in today's football. When you have your foot on someone's throat, you press down, you don't let up. And I think there was kind of a lull in this past weekend's game. Now, I'm going to give Beamer a pass on it because you still won by 26 points. And also, it's his former place of employment, right? I'm petty. Beamer doesn't seem like he's that petty. like, I don't think he wanted to go make it hurt or anything like that or rub salt in the wound when they were up by a ton in the second half. I do love that he faked that field goal, but I don't think he was trying to rub it in too much. So that's a couple things that I would say would be would be better and things you could improve on. All right, that is all for today's episode. I appreciate you guys listening. Man, I'm in just the best mood, and I appreciate you guys watching and listening each and every day. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Remember, listen, I appreciate making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen, but for your second listen, go check out my buddy, Chris Gordy. Gordy is, he does a great job with Locked On SEC. It is a daily show. You can find it the same places you find this one. You find me on there every single Thursday or Friday. We do a show once a week together and have a blast doing it. We've been doing it for about 3 years. He's one of my good friends in this industry, and he does a really, really good job. So you guys go check him out. We'll be back tomorrow. If you guys have any suggestions, stuff you guys want to talk about going into the bye week, hit me up on Twitter at Vern Dumquist or Locked On SC, and we will talk to y'all then. Love y'all. Go Cox. We'll see y'all tomorrow.